Hello, I'm your host, Peter Komendowski, and welcome to Surviving Bad, where we explore stories of survival, hope, and inspiration. Today, we look at what I call the other side of suicide. Mental health issues are survivable until they aren't. In the aftermath of suicide, survivors have to cope with loss and learn how to prepare a generation of youth in the art of survival. Sean Feltz from Speak Out Against Suicide has a heavy dose of compassion and is on a mission to spread awareness about mental health issues and suicide prevention. Let's meet our guest, Sean Feltz. Sean, welcome to the show, and tell us a little bit about how your journey brought us here today.
Well, I used to be in the marketing segment of the world, and I just wanted to find a way to help people. It's always been a passion of mine. I was a fitness trainer for about 13 years, and so helping people to feel better about themselves and continue to be on a healthy path, not only physically but mentally. So this job kind of fell in my lap. So I'm so excited to be here today and thank you for having me. And hopefully, we can touch some topics that aren't very easy to touch, but people need to hear.
Now, what was your experience with the issue of suicide before this job came to you?
So, before this job came to me, I had a cousin who took his life, but I never knew that that's what happened until I was in my adult years. And then I also have a friend of mine who I graduated with, whose father and her son both took their lives within a year, the same way, and it's just really sad. So this brings a little bit more passion to me.
I know that we have a big problem with things like suicide because of how it affects families and survivors, and that people don't feel comfortable or just flat out don't want to talk about it. So
Right.
you went from a big transition of being somebody that was there as one of the survivors around, this is happening around your life, it's impacting you. But there's probably you're like being in a room with four doors and no doors are open. Okay, now what do you do? And how did this job turn the corner for you?
Well, I think because I'm actually originally from Comanche, so I knew a lot of the board members that were already here, and each of them have also a lived experience. We have a couple, or three actually, that have lost their sons. And then we have one board member who has lost on her father's side 5 people and on her mother's side 2 people. So my load seems like nothing compared to what they do, and I think I'm just like them. We don't want anybody to have to go through that. I don't want to have this job. I think suicide is very preventable. So I think if we can make that happen and keep talking is key.
And you mentioned Comanche and that area, and I want our viewers to know that this is a problem statewide. It's a problem all over the country. And it's a problem that is getting attention sort of after the fact. It's like the opioid epidemic. We're talking about all kinds of services and things for people after a suicide happens. And it really impacts our schools and communities in a very powerful way. But you're so passionate about making sure that these lessons are learned and we prevent suicides. I mean, you're all about helping the community that's dealing with it, but really, it seems like everything I hear about you is what a passionate person you are about preventing future suicides. Now, that is a learned experience. That's like becoming a chef. How did you accomplish that?
Well, I myself took a lot of different trainings and had to look at a lot of different aspects of suicide, because suicide can come from a shopping addiction to a substance abuse, or trauma with abuse, childhood abuse. So, trying to take in all the different aspects and learning all I can about each one of those things is crucial for me to help anybody, because we all struggle. I don't care who you are, we all struggle with something. For me, I have anxiety. I have anxiety when my husband says he's going to cook spaghetti, and I think that the whole kitchen's going to be in tomato paste everywhere. That's me thinking it. It doesn't happen that way, but it's like learning about all of the different things that tie into suicide, whether you're a young person or whether you're all the way into your senior years. It's just important for everyone to be aware that it's okay to talk about any of those things. I talk about it freely. If I've had too much of a load in my week, I have no problem letting my board know that, hey, it's time for a break. So,
And that's important. And I know that we deal with farmer suicides that deal with stress of supporting families. We know that, like,
mhm,
as you said, the stressors are all over the place.
mhm.
But one of our biggest concerns really is getting to talk about the kids. So we're going to take a short break. We come back. Let's talk about Iowa children and what they're facing when we're talking
Absolutely.
about suicide. All right. We'll see y'all after the break. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss this.
Well, because it's the best. And that's true because I've thought about that. I mean, definitely the fastest. And the biggest thing I hear most people talk about is the stability of it.
MediaCom's network is very reliable. We have a lot of programs in place that can monitor kind of issues that arise. That way we can fix them before they reach the customer.
Trust the pros. Get extreme internet starting at $9.99 a month for a year.
Malware and bots and worms, oh my. The wild, wild web can be a scary and complex place. And as our digital world expands, so too are the threats. Watch out! Trojan horse. That's why at MediaCom, we take security very seriously and monitor our networks around the clock to stop threats before they can affect you. Not today, rude kid. Not all internet is created equal. We build ours to keep you connected and protected.
Welcome back to Surviving Bad. I'm your host, Peter Komendowski, and we're talking with Sean Feltz with Speak Out Against Suicide. When you look at the numbers, suicide is a top 10 cause of death in America. Every 11 minutes, someone in the United States dies by suicide. It's also the second leading cause of death for children ages 10 to 14. And it hits so close to home, we rarely talk about it. Sean, this is a scary thing when we're not talking about something that's starting to affect young children so dramatically. What is the climate and what are some of the things you've encountered in Iowa in dealing with this issue?
I think with the kids these days, they have, we want to look at social media as always their bad choice, but sometimes it can be their good choice as far as communicating and talking to each other. I always give them kudos because, their percentage has actually gone down. So I always give them a little bit of a pat on the back and I always ask them, what do you think you're doing? What do you think you're doing differently? What are some ideas? They're the ones that are going to be living through the rest of the ages that probably will be helping us. So trying to get them to start thinking about their ideas. We try to be involved in the schools in our community, teaching going in and doing the education for these kids of what the signs are and how to ask the hard question. And one of the things that I really point out when I'm doing that is this is a promise that you cannot keep. This is the only promise I will ask you not to keep in your entire life. And that is if you know somebody is talking about taking their life. So, and that really sinks home because when you say one every 11 minutes, I say, think of yourself getting out of bed and brushing your teeth. By the time you do that, somebody has taken their life. And then they're like, oh no, we might not think about how we brush our teeth the same again. And I said, that's exactly my point. You have to think about these things because maybe it doesn't happen around you, but you're going to want to know it when it does. So that's important.
Is it easier to engage children on this issue or parents?
much easier with children. I like to do my presentations to the smaller size health classes that have maybe 12 to 15 kids. I can get a little bit more of a connection. I always let them know I'm going to tell if something's bothering you or you're uncomfortable by the way you act. So if you need to step out, we're always advocating somebody will step out with you. But a lot of those kids afterwards will come up and say, either themselves or they've had a friend, that has done something, and they always want a business card, and we always give out the 988 bracelets. So they will talk if we will listen. So it's just getting them in the right group, in a smaller group where they're a little bit more personable, and they will open up.
And with parents, what kind of strategies do you employ?
I think parents, it's hard because they don't think it will ever happen. It won't happen to them. If they don't think about it or they don't deal with learnings and getting educated, that it just doesn't happen. The parents that we do get in the room are always the same parents that already know that we've already educated, which is good. But, it's those parents that maybe are unable to get in the room. Maybe they're working 2 jobs, or maybe, they have stressors of their own. So they're worried about themselves and can't really be focused on their kids. So just trying to really navigate how it's not anybody's fault for not getting educated, but at the same time, trying to get them to make some efforts to do so.
Well, we're raised to be parents that are sort of superhuman, have all the answers, solve all the problems. We know we don't live in a world where kids are immune to seeing what their parents are going through. And what we hear is that often some of the biggest stressors for children to deal with mental health issues actually start in the home. And it's not from bad parenting. It may not be from drug use. It may simply be the pressures of parenting today and what parents have to do to survive in a very volatile world compared to what might have been around 20, 30, 40 years ago. But the fact is we
Yes.
know that there's always been a volatile world and parents have always been on leading edge. Do you think it's just fear that they're going to disappoint their kids that they don't want to talk about this?
I think it's kind of come to, I have had a handful of parents probably within the last, I would say 6 months or so that would reach out for a nephew or their son or daughter or somebody, of a younger age. And just the thing of, we don't know what to say. What do we not say? And what do we say? And I say, well, you know what? I can tell you all of that. Let's get together and talk about it. But most of all, be able to provide them with a resource so they don't have to worry about that, which is again, utilizing that international hotline of the 988. So, we're working on that parent segment, parent age, working age, and all the way up. Those numbers are going up. So we've got to start, not being stoic about how we're feeling and not being afraid if somebody says, hey, are you okay? And you answer, what? I'm living the dream. I'm great. Instead of saying, you know what? It's not having a good day today. Because most people are probably going to run away from you if you say that.
Well, and I want to take a short break so we can catch our breaths, but and maybe touch on that issue of that 988 line and what its potential is to help people when we get back. So stay tuned. We're going to continue our conversation with Sean. You don't want to miss this.
I'm not glitching.
I told you with our new Extreme Internet, it will be smooth streaming.
That's unbelievable.
Well, you better believe it, Missy.
I already finished streaming the whole 2nd season of my show.
So start the 3rd.
What the fast? That's really not frustrating.
I'll take that as a compliment.
You should.
I'm gonna get some ice cream. Do you want some?
With the drama-free reliability of Extreme Internet, you'll have to create your own. Get super fast internet with whole home Wi-Fi for as low as $24.99 a month for a year.
You told me not to talk to strangers. You told me not to cross the street without looking both ways.
You told me not to touch the stove.
You told me not to do drugs.
You told me not to drink and drive.
You gave me so many messages about how to stay safe. Why didn't you keep me safe by properly storing your gun?
Hello, I'm your host, Peter Komendowski, and welcome back to Surviving Bad, where with Sean's help, we're learning what it's going to take to deal with the problem of suicides and especially youth suicides in Iowa. Sean, you know, the 988 thing always sounds so good, but for many people, 988 sounds like another 911. And there's a big, big difference between 911 and 988. And matter of fact, there may be many, many, many people that could benefit from 988, but don't call it because they don't think the problem is bad enough.
Right. And it
Give us a
doesn't
little
have to
primer.
be, yeah, it doesn't have to be a crisis situation, you know, to call 988. If you're really sitting in a bad place, you can call them at any time. The good thing for me is when I'm meeting with someone and I'm not sure what direction to send them, I myself can call 988 to help somebody else. So I think that's important to know. The other thing is if you're speaking with someone who may be struggling and you're not sure, you know, if you should call 988, the real big question is to find out if they might have a weapon with them. If they do, then we obviously do want to do 911 because it could be a possible injury. However, 988, you don't have to be, they will help you, they will talk to you. And most of the time, if you can talk with someone and someone's listening to you, you can get through that struggle pretty quickly.
I'll ask you a question. Can I, as a parent, sit down with my child and say, listen, I need to learn more about this suicide thing because I don't want to be afraid of it. And let's get on 988 together and learn a little bit more about this. Can they use 988 for that? Can they call
There's
them
a
up and
huge,
say that?
you could probably call them up and say that, but the best way, what I would do is just jump right on their website. And all you have to do is type in your computer 988. You can have a chat with somebody. You can do it via text actually too on your phone. So there's many ways to, however it's comfortable. Kids I know these days would rather, you know, text or chat, which totally fine, you know, whatever works for you. But, you know, you could have, maybe you just had a bad, maybe you had to put your dog down in the morning and you're just having a bad day. And I would call them. If I didn't have anybody to talk to, nobody trusted to talk to, I would call them. Absolutely.
Now, are children doing this? When you're talking to them in schools, do you find that they use that as a resource?
They have. I've had a couple students that I've talked to that have utilized that when they were with a friend. So, you know, if we have two friends doing it and they tell two more friends and they tell two more friends, and we're just hoping that, you know, someday everybody will just know that that's an automatic thing, just like 911 is an automatic for injury and medical, you know, medical emergencies.
Well, can you share a little bit about the different types of outreach that you do and maybe some stories that you know, things that have really picked you up and made you feel great about what you're doing?
We've had, oh gosh, we could go into a lot of different stories, but we have had some prestigious people that we have in our community where we are locally, and they have come out and had suicide attempts and have talked about it. And we're pretty proud of bringing that to light because there's so many people in our community that had no idea. And these were people of significant stature in the community. So, you know, when you can get somebody to start talking, it kind of is like a chain reaction, you know, then everybody's like, oh my gosh, if they can talk about it, I can talk about it. Look at your famous people. You know, what if Robin Williams would have talked about it? What if, you know, any of those types of people would have talked about it? And, you know, we don't know where they would have been today. But knowing that we need to talk about it and get it out, sometimes you just got to get it bubbled up and out of your mouth and you feel better. I think that that's something we want to make sure that everybody knows. We're here to listen. I can talk all day long, but I'm just as good a listener as I am a talker.
Well, you know, it's interesting because we all feel that, you know, we all strive to have this perfect self-image, you know, all these things that are now we realize are creating mental health issues. And I think it's important, you sort of hint on the fact that human beings that experience mental health issues or even have thoughts of suicide are not damaged goods, that they're simply
No.
learning things that they don't know about and have to do some extra work to learn more about these things and how to deal with them.
Oh yeah, we've had I've had one gentleman who had called me. It's been quite a while ago. And he has experienced suicidal ideations for a very long time. And he is a military person, and so it's really hard for him. And so after talking with him and letting them know anybody that struggles with mental health is going to help somebody else down the road. If they can get that out of them and understand it a little bit better, that they're not the only ones going through things, and a lot of people have similarities, I can match them up with other people and they end up helping somebody. So that's a crucial piece too. We always want to find some people that maybe could help each other. Maybe I don't know what to say to somebody because I'm not ever been in the military, but I have somebody here that may have been, that I could match up with someone, or a child, or somebody with LGBTQ, or all of the different things, somebody with child abuse, or again financial troubles, whatever. It just goes on to, we have to care about people. We have to care about keeping them here, because everybody, I believe, plays a significant role in their life. And some people just don't know what it is yet.
Wow, those are great points. We're going to take a short break. And Sean, when you come back, we're going to ask you to share some final comments, insights, and inspirations to help deal with this issue of mental health and suicide in Iowa. See you all after the break. You don't want to miss this.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Watching MC22 is now easier than ever before. All MediaCom customers can watch local programming online anytime. Go to mc22.net, click Watch MC22, and log in with your MediaCom account. Not a MediaCom cable subscriber? MediaCom internet or phone subscribers can watch too. Your local programming leader, MC22, online at mc22.net/watch.
Dad! Dad, I'm not glitching!
I told you with our new Extreme Internet, it will be smooth streaming.
That's unbelievable!
Well, you better believe it, Missy.
I already finished streaming the whole second season of my show.
So start the third.
What the fast? That's really not frustrating.
I'll take that as a compliment.
You should.
I'm gonna get some ice cream. Do you want some?
With the drama-free reliability of Extreme Internet, you'll have to create your own. Get super fast internet with whole home Wi-Fi for as low as $24.99 a month for a year.
Welcome back. Today on Surviving Bad, we talked about suicide and how survivors have to cope with loss and learn how to prepare a generation of youth in the art of survival. Let's see what final insights and inspiration Sean has to share. Sean, you deal with a bunch of counties. I think you said up to 9 counties, and you say you're willing to go anywhere. But talk to us about this organization and what you guys are doing.
So Speak Out Against Suicide's been around for about 12 years. We have 8 board members, 8 board members plus myself, and we have a part-time person, but it's a 501c3 organization, and we do a lot of things. So I'm going to touch base on just some of the ones that are most important. And most importantly, we support and we provide resources. Those are our main goals. We have fundraising opportunities that we have twice a year. One is our gala that happens usually in March or April, and the other is we have a Breaking the Silence walk that's coming up in September on the 22nd. So those two are our big fundraisers. The gala raises money for us to obviously do the work and the research and the training that we do, plus provide some financial help to people who may be struggling that don't have insurances, or their EAPs aren't covering enough visits to a therapist or things like that. So if our board approves those people, we will help pay for that. Also, another really huge thing that we do is we have a therapy dog, Chance, and I take him. I'll get a lot of calls for, can you please bring Chance? And that's really all it takes for somebody to get through their, get through their moment. We also support all of our area agencies and the community. Networking to me is huge. We got to quit fighting against each other and all come together to be able to help everybody in the long run. But those are some of the pieces that we do. I provide outreach for those females and males coming out of jail on substances to just have a hangout time where they can talk freely in a safe space. We do all kinds of events. We have tables, we have bracelets, we have all kinds of marketing things to hand out to people. But most of all, we just want to make sure that people reach out to somebody, or if you know somebody and you can't talk to them or don't know what to say, send them our way. I think I've provided my email and ways to get a hold of us. So those are just a few talking points, but we do a lot more. We do a lot of volunteering as well.
Now, if people around the state are watching this and they're interested in getting involved, can they call you and ask you for any help in getting things like this started in their communities?
I am sure our board members would love to discuss how we keep, that's what we want to do. We want to spread awareness and we want to create a lot of prevention. We work really closely with the Area Substance Abuse Council, and I'm sure you're familiar with them all over the state. But we want to really be involved and get more people involved, because that's how we're going to make it stop.
Well, I thank you so much for joining us today and sharing this important message. And I thank you all for watching today. Check out our website, ahealthyiowa.org, and keep your eye on MediaCom MC22 for our next episode of Surviving Bad, where we explore stories of survival, hope, and inspiration. On MediaCom MC22, your local programming leader.